start the meeting. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the meeting of the executive members for health and wellbeing. This is a decision-making meeting in the presence of opposition spokespersons, and welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning. My name is Councillor Schofield, and the first item on our agenda today is, just bear with me, the monitoring of the executive cabinet member decisions, which is enclosed. This is just ongoing piece of work. Is everybody happy to approve that? Has anybody got any comments on it? Sorry, if you have any comments, I would like to ask a question. If you can just raise your hand either virtually or just physically, that'd be great. Okay, are we happy to be on to agenda item 2, which is the Department of Public Health Strategic Budget Report, which is enclosed with the documents. And Connie, are you picking this one up for us?
Yeah, I can just talk through this one.
Thank you.
So this is the Department of Public Health Strategic Budget Report for 25-26. Recommendations to note the proposed revenue budget for £18.7 million and to approve the identified savings and efficiencies within the report. Section 2 shows the 18.7 million broken down across the different public health services. Section 3 is the variance analysis, so that's the different elements that have gone in to build the budget. So we've got budget variance in there, inflation rate increases, some corporate demand budgets going in, but also savings and efficiencies of 299k coming out of the budget. These savings have already been in the aggregate report as well that was agreed at full council. Savings being 268k from controllable budgets and contract efficiencies, and 31k which is related to a vacant post. The appendices show the budget in a table format with the different elements going in to build the budget. Appendix B is additional grants that are received and controlled by the Public Health Directorate, and Appendix C is a table format of the savings. So any questions on the...
Yeah. Has anybody got any questions or points they'd like to raise? Oh, thank you very much, Councillor Cowan.
Thank you. Thanks very much. It's just a comment, really, more than a question. You know, just looking at the budget, and I'm obviously very aware that savings have to be made across the board. And I note that the role that has been scrapped, really, you know, in terms of in order to make a saving, and it is a significant saving towards against the target that needs to be saved, is the position for the health and fitness or health and wellbeing officer. And it just strikes me, I know it's a sign of the times, and like I say, it's a comment really more than it's not a criticism or anything, it's an observation in terms of the health service, how the roles that would be more preventative, you know, in terms of kind of hopefully preventing diseases and you know, easing pressure on the health service, are the ones that have to be the first to go. You know, the funding has to go on to the sort of frontline, you know, sort of health services that are required. And it seems a shame, and it's just really that, you know, it would be lovely if we could get to a point at some time in the future where these, you know, preventative roles, these roles which help people improve their own health and therefore alleviate the pressure on the service, could be more to the forefront, you know. But as I say, I appreciate we are where we are. It's just an observation. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cowan. Do you want to come in there, Karen, please?
Yeah, it was just to give a little bit of clarity around that role. So it's actually a cardiac rehab role that we had on a part-time basis. And the role's actually been vacant for over 12 months. But the work of that role has been linked into some of the work that the public health practitioners already do. So it doesn't feel like we're going to lose too much, to be honest. And we haven't noticed kind of much impact from that. I suppose it's the title of the post that kind of throws up that question, really, but just to give some reassurance.
Like that. So is that okay, Councillor Cowan? Does that answer your question? Gives you some reassurance. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Karen, for coming in there. So the next agenda item, that was just for noting. The next agenda
was there
item,
not an approval in that one as well, Connie?
thought that
Was there
was-
an approval in that? Just let me double check what the resolution was. I just want to make sure that we've not missed anything.
It had the savings, just approve those savings.
Yeah,
options.
yeah. Can we just
Sorry.
make sure we approve those
Are we
savings?
all
That's
happy to
great.
approve those savings in the committee?
It's just you, Councillor Schofield.
Okay, sorry. Yes, so I am happy to
Yeah.
approve them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the next agenda item is the long-acting reversible contraception commission service. So this has a recommendation in it, so we'll need to make a decision on this. Well, I will have to make a decision on this. So Karen, did you want to pick this one up for us?
Yeah, can do. I'll just talk through the highlights. I'm presuming everybody's had a chance to have a look at it. So just a little bit of history around the long-acting reversible contraception service. So historically, this has been commissioned through primary care practices, and we know that in Bolton, the take-up of those practices in terms of wanting to deliver these services has been relatively poor. So we've reviewed the service specification and we've looked at some other options in terms of delivering this through the provider selection regime of commissioning services. So the paper details a lot of this in terms of the reasons why we're looking at reviewing the specification and thinking about a different way of commissioning this to try to attract more providers to step forward to deliver this service for the residents of Bolton, because we do know the value in terms of long-acting reversible contraception. So that involves implants and also intrauterine devices, coils and things like that for everybody's benefit. In terms of like longer term contraception, but also it's utilised to support women going through menopause, or also individuals who might be subject to other gynecological complaints. So the way that we're looking at doing this going forward is to try to attract more providers to step forward to deliver it. We're trying to create a model that includes not only individual practices, but maybe clinical leads on behalf of primary care networks that may utilise the service to attract people from other practices within that PCN, but also to say organisations like the GP Federation, for example, might want to deliver it in a central place where people can come conveniently to access that service. So we're trying to reach out to a wider opportunity of commissioning this. The other feedback that we've had is around, so we tend to pay for this through a set budget that we have. It's activity based, claims put forward. We pay for it based on that activity, but we pay for it per intervention. And we've done quite a bit of work across Greater Manchester looking at what's the average payments per intervention, and is Bolton on a par with some of those other areas? If not, then that might be a reason why some of the providers are not stepping forward to provide. So what we've done is readjust those payments, and we've also looked at a bit of incentivising by providing some support in terms of finance towards training some of those practice staff to be able to deliver this service. And we're looking at putting in place a 3+1+1 year contract for those that step forward and express an interest in delivering. So I suppose in a way we've kind of modernised the way that we're going to commission this if we get approval, using the provider selection regime regulations to award this contract under Direct Award Process B. The paper sets out the rationale for suggesting a provider selection regime B, and it also includes lots of information around guidance in the paper. So basically the request is to approve the recommendations that the delegated authority, the Director of Public Health, to follow PSR process for the commissioning of long-acting reversible contraception for a contract term of 3+1+1 years in line with option 1, utilising the PSR legislation and guidance, and to delegate authority to the Director of Public Health to utilise the Direct Award B to negotiate and award the contracts from April 25 with the authorisation of the Borough Solicitor. I don't know if there's any specific questions on this paper.
Have you got any questions or comments? Sorry, Roger, Councillor Hayes, did you want to
No,
say something?
I was sorry, I was just saying I would support the recommendation, but that's the only
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've had a lengthy discussion about this previously, Karen, haven't we? And I think it's a really positive way forward, and I want to accept the recommendations provided in the paper, so I'm happy to do that today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You've gone on mute again, Councillor Schofield, for some reason.
Yeah, sorry, I'm having IT issues this morning. It's typical, isn't it?
I know.
And the final one is the commissioning of I'm flitting around as well. A joint substance misuse contract extension, which again you've had all the documentation for in the email for the meeting. Karen, did you want to just pick this one up again? I think I need to make a decision on this one again today.
Yeah.
If you want to pick this one
Okay.
up, Karen, thank you.
Again, it's a little bit of a complex one because it's asking for approvals of two things, isn't it? It refers back as well in the paper to a previous paper that came to ECM in August last year, where we were looking to try to consider a direct award of contracts under the current contractual arrangements, which are led by Salford as the lead commissioner, and we partner up at Bolton, Salford, Trafford contract. Greater Manchester Mental Health Services are the provider, and they subcontract a number of other providers within that provision across that patch. We tried to work in the last paper in August, we asked for permission to continue to work through the opportunity to consider a direct award. If for any reason that would break down, we looked at either options to consider a direct award on a Bolton only footprint, or to think about taking the service out to tender. And it's become quite complex over the last few months. In terms of just before Christmas, we're having lots of conversations about the financial breakdowns, the delivery of the service, lots of complexities being put forward in terms of challenge from the provider. So essentially, it's all outlined in the paper. We've come to ask permission now to approve the extension of the current contract for 12 months under the provider selection regime emergency situational powers to allow us time to go out to tender. And what we're suggesting is we carry out a full tender on behalf of Bolton to have a Bolton only service. Salford and Trafford are doing something very similar, and we utilise the provider selection regime to consider a 4+3 year term for the new contract, with obviously the option of a break clause at 3 years, because everybody's kind of conscious of the challenging times that we're under in terms of financial viability. So we've set out in the paper the rationale for why we think that is the preferred option. We've looked at a timeline for the tender to commence mid-April. We've already done quite a bit of work to revise the service specification, and there's ongoing dialogue with our current providers in terms of how we get the best out of the current contract if it is agreed that it's extended for that 12 months. If it's not agreed to be extended, we are at significant risk, because this is a service obviously for very vulnerable individuals, and also it impacts on the wider community and community safety and other things. So the finance section in section 4 highlights the fact that there are some pressures around the funding of the service. So we've outlined there the Bolton contribution to the core contract, which is just over 3 million, and then we've also had to consider some additional uplift to pay for the provision at the value at the current service, and also utilising some reserves. And then what we've done is set aside a contract value for the future contract on the basis of what we know the service is costing, with an ongoing inflationary. And it's not inclusive of any inflationary uplifts, because we don't necessarily know what our inflationary uplift may look like, but there's an additional contribution from reserves to continue to develop the recovery network of the service. Obviously, the things around TUPE, etc., will be taken into consideration as we work through a full tender with our colleagues from procurement and legal and finance. So that's it in a nutshell, really. I don't know if there's any specific queries on that paper. It is quite complex. I appreciate that.
Has anybody got any questions or comments? Nobody's raised their hand, I don't think. So I'm happy to approve the recommendation to extend the contract and then commence a tender after that year. And obviously there's a lot of detail in the paperwork to support the timeline. So it's
Yeah.
very robust, and I'm happy to approve that for those decisions. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's the end of the
And
meeting, I
that's
think. Yeah.
the end of the meeting today. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. And have a great day, and I'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.